what I find very interesting about this is that, so what you're talking about with the subsidies and stuff from the government and these, especially in agriculture, it's a huge problem, I think, globally, and but especially in countries that are huge agricultural producers, like in Europe and the United States, and also in South America. But so for the US, like we have this huge problem with corn. Like high fructose corn syrup is one thing that, they stuff in all of the food. And one of the reasons for that is because, corn is like every 4 years when people are running for president, they go to Iowa and they start talking to the Iowans about how we're going to keep these corn subsidies because American corn farmers are the backbone of our, country, and blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing as what you talked about before from World War II. Is obviously, if you want to be a superpower and if you're trying to prepare for, a huge war, you need to be able to supply enough food for yourself. And China can't do that, right? So that's like one of China's largest geopolitical challenges, is that they cannot supply enough food for their population on their own. So if they decide to declare war on everybody, they better make sure that they have somebody on their side that can give them food, and make sure that they can get it all the way there. Like, if this is such a tangent, but anyway, in the US, we still have a lot of these traditions and mindsets and things left over from World War II. It's kind of like our identity is still tied to that, and then with the Cold War. So we're still kind of in that mindset of we got to have this crazy food production with all of these farms and all this stuff, just in case we ever have to fight a war against China or something, that, we can supply our own food. And we have this image of farmers as being these like small town mom and pop farmers who are just trying to survive. And there are those people out there still, but mostly they've been driven out of business by these huge big food, type farms. And those subsidies that these politicians are handing out, that's this big, vicious, corrupt cycle with lobbyists and all these kind of semi-corrupt things going on. So when these politicians talk all about subsidy for, farmers, like nobody really wants to vote against that because it sounds like unpopular. But like what you're talking about, these subsidies kind of sound like a boring political thing, but they're actually a huge problem that for us as individuals and for our cultures long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. And also you mentioned that also like in the US, like there is like this idea of like producing more and more food, no? But the thing is, we don't need so much food now, because we are wasting 1/3 of the food that we are producing, and it's a lot. So with that 1/3, it will be enough to feed the people that are starving. So they are dying of hunger. So there is really not need to produce more, but there is a need to produce better, or like better quality, and also to distribute the food better, especially focused on like shorter supply chains and so on. So that, and also like you were mentioning China before, no? Like the fact that also they cannot produce enough food for themselves. I think it's interesting maybe to mention also another phenomenon that is happening, which is called land grabbing. Don't know if you ever heard of that. And yeah, it means that basically countries like, for example, China, or also Japan, or also other countries, like they are buying cheap land, for example, from Africa, and they are growing their crops there for their country. But most of the times they don't carry out sustainable agriculture at all. It's also intensive agriculture, and they are exploiting farmers there.
Yeah.
Yes, and Isabel also agrees. And so they are basically destroying land from another country. And most of the time, those lands that are bought, they were owned by local communities, or like indigenous communities, that they cannot, like they owned it for like customary law. So they have been living there for ages, but they don't really have a contract which says that the land belongs to them. So the country, automatically, the government say this land is of the government, is ours, because you don't have anything that proves that. And so they can just sell it to whoever they want in exchange of money. And the people that live there, they have to move away. So that there is also a problem of migration, of hunger, of wars, because people are sent away from their lands because of land grabbing. So that is a very, very important topic. And I think we are not talking enough about that.